Right, hello again. It's John Courtnidge, and it's 2 days since I put up on YouTube a 45-minute long video on cooperative socialism, and it seems to have been reasonably well received. My friend Greta has asked me to produce a shorter form version, a bit like the Story of Stuff video. So I'm going to move to some graphics and hopefully do this within, say, 15 minutes. Now, this is not very sophisticated approach to technology, as you will see, somewhat made up as we go along. Anyway, here are the notes of a couple of videos well worth watching. The Story of Stuff by Annie Leonard, which is great, and if somebody could convert all of this into that sort of format, that would be great. And the George Harvey explanation of how capitalism operates. George Harvey does this on the Royal Society of Arts Animation channel. And finally, there's the name for cooperative socialism, the longer version that I did the other day. So the first question then is, where on the political map is cooperative socialism, and what is this alternative all about? If you go to politicalcompass.org, you can work out whether you're more like Gandhi or Stalin. They use the old-fashioned left-right on this horizontal axis, and you'll notice that I've put progressive over on this side, because that horizontal axis is then a bit like the axis of time. And you can see the crossing axis here, so helpful screwdriver, authoritarian to experiential, and I use that word as the opposite of authoritarian. So the two forms of capitalism are here, the bully one, conservatism, and the crazy one, liberalism, down here. So we've experienced the bully variant of not capitalism, and we don't like that, definitely. So this is the name I give to this progressive and experiential approach. So let's move on. And just before we look at what cooperative socialism looks like, I thought it's worthwhile sharing something from my friend Janos Abel, where he shows a whole variety of problems that arise from one central root. Whether you can see much of that, but at the Economics Working Group and the so-called Global Table, we've been talking about this for about 20 odd years. So that George Harvey video on RSA explains to some degree what capitalism is all about, and here are the 5 mechanisms for which I use this acronym TRIP UP. So theft, rent, interest, profit, and unequal pay for work. And the theft of economic resources, land delivers rent. For the theft of the law, allows interest to be charged on lent money and created credit. The theft of knowledge delivers profits, which are distributed as dividends. And the theft of power positions, so there's a development, all those jobs that start with the letter P lead to unequal pay for work. And so under cooperative socialism, as we said before, the spirit level tells us that more income equality is a good thing. So what I'm suggesting is that rather than theft and ownership of economic resources, we talk about cooperative careship of those. As far as land is concerned, rent doesn't seem to need to be paid, but if a cooperative, even a cooperative of one person, takes on the careship of some land, then perhaps the careship requires repair and maintenance costs to be paid, either carried out or paid. As far as interest is concerned, no interest not-for-profit banking. Tariq Al-Dawani has adequately covered that. As far as workplaces are concerned, assorted different co-ops, really. There are only two sorts, or a matrix of four. The monopoly co-ops nationally and workplace cooperatives in the creative market sector. And some of those are going to be social economy cooperatives which generate a financial surplus, which capitalism calls a profit, but the world of cooperation calls financial surplus, and solidarity co-ops, which will need some sort of income from the community to survive. The people in Quebec usefully call this l'économie sociale and l'économie solidaire. And finally, the bit at the bottom that you can't see terribly well, let's see if I can move it a bit better, is that as far as this question of income inequality or equality is concerned, then if society decides that there should be a ratio, say of 3:1 or 5:1, then that base income needs to be a living income for everybody, a life. So let's move to the next sheet. There's only about half a dozen of these. In another video, I'll talk about the whole question of how wealth is created and how it can be better distributed. And the key thing that I want to just introduce here is that wealth is created when raw materials and energy are brought together. And that necessarily involves the creation of pollution, both waste materials and heat. And that's because I'm a research chemist, and my experience of having run businesses, having run households, even making a loaf of bread, tells me that that general equation applies. And this is why we have to get rid of interest and rent and the requirement that economic resources make their maximum return in the shortest possible time, because that's why pollution is being made on an exponential basis. And just to indicate for the future what we'll be looking at, I'll just cover that up for the minute. Here is a diagram which shows how wealth, once it's been created by adding value to the cost of raw materials and energy, down at the bottom, there's the added value going up there. Strictly speaking, it's on this side of the chart, cost of raw materials and energy, added value, and at the moment capital gets rent, interest and profit. That's the RIP part in trip up, and the workforce get either wages or salaries, and they try and get perks as well. And I'll come back to this diagram when we talk about wealth creation in a bit. Okay, let's squiggle this on a bit. So just two more sheets to show you. Since we're looking for this change, and it's got to happen pretty quickly given the amount of climate change that's going on, the number of wars, the amount of distress, even yesterday's issue of the Metro, which is a free paper in London. The main headline on the front page was "Flat Broke Britain." So I'm suggesting that these are the three things that need to happen for the change from capitalism to this alternative called cooperative socialism, which is both progressive and non-hierarchical. The first one, I think, is this mental change here. At the moment, capitalism's all to do with what I can get, whereas we know from all the faith traditions that the best personal orientation is what can I give. In order to be able to do that, you obviously need the resources to be able to give something, and that's what the living income for everybody idea is all about. Secondly, there's no point in knowing about it unless you do something about it, and I'm going to expand the think globally but act locally idea into the three-way thing of acting locally, nationally and globally. And take it from me, that requires patience, impatience and persistence. I call them the 3 Ps. You might joke about that. And of course, part of action is to read and understand what's going on, and that's what this idea of praxis is all about. Finally, the third point is this will be terribly tedious if there wasn't some fun in it. So there's got to be plenty of celebration of everything that we're achieving. We've got to annually audit how well we're doing, and the older I get, the more important I realise is archiving. So overall, we're talking about the change from inequality, economic inequality and income inequality, to equality, wholeness and wellness. In other words, the move towards peace. And just to slide the camera over again, you may remember that the whole basis of this is the evidence in the spirit level, which says that economic and income inequality is better for everyone. Look for the one with the blue star. That if you want to know more about this, then there are these 5 articles which are a bit dense to read, and they are on the websites I'll mention. And finally, we want to move from this, look, the way society looks like that, not to a society that looks like that, God forbid, but rather one that's sustainably equal but different all the way across. So let's wrap this up with a few resources. And if you want to read more about this, think about or discover some ideas for action, then there are some papers in the papers section at interestfreemoney.org. I've got a very occasional blog called Sustainability Not Capitalism at Blogspot. That all runs together. There's my email address, and I'm on both Facebook and Twitter. So that's 13 minutes and 3 seconds. I'm going to call it a halt there, load this up to Facebook, sorry, up to YouTube, and hope you like it. Thanks a lot. Bye.